Will Alabama potentially suffer with a 5-star quarterback, defensive back, and offensive lineman transferring out? They also lost 4-star Isaiah Bond, who was one of their best players last year. Do you think Alabama's going to suffer with having 4-star players transferring out, and probably because of the Nick Saban news?
I do think they take a bit of a hit, not as significant as one might think, because they still are Alabama. I mean, Nick's still got some depth down there that has not left yet, including Jalen Milroe. I mean, we saw the wheels on that kid last year. We saw the passing ability. Did he get shut down by that great Michigan defense? Absolutely. But, that's
the best in the country.
Right. That was the best team in the country, no question.
Yep.
They're not. I think they'll be. I think they'll be about an 8 or 9 win team next year. I don't.
First year.
I don't think they win the SEC. I don't even think they go to the SEC championship, because you do have Brian Kelly down there at LSU now.
Right.
He's getting his players in there. Oklahoma being a part of it now. Texas being a part of it. Those are 2 wrenches thrown into the plan.
Yep.
So I do think they're good, not mediocre, not great, but I do think they're serviceably good. Kalen DeBoer is a proven great winning head coach at everywhere he's been. So I'm excited to see what he does. I mean, I don't like Alabama, but college football isn't great when they're not doing good.
Right. Right. Alabama's here. The elephant, the damn Crimson Tide, all the chants from the fans. We know how it plays out. But Alabama, in terms of, suffering with having these guys lose, maybe I was a little harsh on the wording there in the lineup. I don't believe they're going to suffer. They're definitely going to feel it, though. When you have any 5-star athlete, move out of there, especially at, you can argue, 3 of the most pivotal positions in football. If one of these guys would have been an edge rusher, I would say 3 of the most pivotal positions. But quarterback, O-line for sure. DB, you always want to draft a lockdown DB. You always want to draft a stand-up O-line that doesn't get pancaked. You always want to draft a great quarterback because that's the franchise. And you always want to draft a great edge rusher, because if you can't get after that quarterback, you're probably not going to have much success with your defense. You're going to put a lot of stress on the back end. They also lose, like I said, 4-star Isaiah Bond as well. I agree with a lot of what you said. They are still going to have that Nick Saban, vibe and culture down there. There are still people on that staff that maybe Saban tried to recruit up and possibly couldn't. And we saw Sark went to Texas. Kirby went to Georgia. Nick possibly realized that everybody wanted a piece of what Alabama had. So maybe his exact replacement that he wanted to groom isn't there, but that culture is still ever so, prominent. I believe even with Kalen DeBoer, Alabama's still going to have a top 3 to 5 recruiting class in college football.
Precisely.
You can't tell me that won't happen.
No, it's still going to happen. And the fact of the matter is, you still have Coach Saban on the premises. He's got an office above Bryant-Denny Stadium now. And Coach DeBoer has said, I expect to hear input from Coach Saban once a week on what we could be doing, improving on, etc. And there's still going to be a little bit of that it factor for Alabama there, that classic Saban feeling. There's still going to be a little bit of residual, but they won't be traditional overall.
You would cut out a little bit. You said they won't be traditional. Like, you don't think they'll be just traditional?
No, they won't be traditional Alabama overall.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It's not going to be a huge lift as much as it feel like it will, because it's Nick Saban's shoes. But look at what Saban's built. It's not like at the end of Belichick's era when the Patriots are falling back apart and you hire the inside linebackers coach Gerard Mayo to take over. No, you're talking about the runner-up of the runner-up of the College Football National Championship. Kalen DeBoer come from the Washington Huskies, who just dealt with a great transfer from Indiana, and Michael Penix, who should be on everyone's first-round draft board. I don't know why he's not at the moment. But yeah, no. I'm with you, man. I mean, Alabama's going to reload. They're going to restock. They're going to feel it, but I think for as many guys as get out of there, they're going to be looking to bring in, at least 2 more just to have that solidarity on the back end. Give me your top 3 teams with the best transfer portal activity right now.
So, non-bias here, just looking objectively.
He said that
I
twice now.
got
Y'all heard that. Non-bias, objectively. Everybody
right.
listen up.
And in this order, Oregon, Ole Miss, and Florida State, they have been the most consistent in the portal since the season ended. I
Mhm.
mean, you got to look at it here. FSU pulled several players from Alabama,
Yep.
whether they were starters or not. That's still great talent.
Right.
I think they got 15 players overall, 10 of them 4 stars.
Wow.
I mean,
Yeah, 10 4 stars.
DJU being one of those
Yep.
from Oregon State.
10 4 stars,
So
5 3 stars.
that's a big name. Coach Norvell, he's a proven portal winner. I mean,
Mhm.
we've seen it year in and year out. I said that earlier. And
Right.
as for Oregon, they pulled off some major moves as well. In terms
Yeah.
of quarterback space, they got Dylan Gabriel and Dante Moore from UCLA. He said he wanted to come in and
Mhm.
play backup under Dylan. And when do you get two great quarterbacks like that behind one sitting behind one? You don't see that very often. Dan knows what he's doing there.
Right.
He's found a sufficient way to fill the Bo Nix void in Eugene, Oregon.
Mhm.
And they have a legitimate shot at the title next year, I think, because they got 1 5 star, 5 4 stars. They've just picked up that Jabbar Muhammad guy as well. And then as for Ole Miss, he snagged the #1 D lineman and also the #1 edge in the country.
Right.
So, and we all know Coach Kiffin is a portal wizard. So yeah,
Mhm.
those are they picked up 1 5 star, 7 4 star recruits. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with in the SEC next year. And don't be surprised if you see them in the SEC championship or at least almost going.
Right. Nah, 100%. Got to give the tip to Ole Miss. They have one of the lone 5 stars that actually went in the transfer portal. Of course, Texas has one. Ohio State actually has 2 5 star recruits that they were able to pick up as well. And then, outside of that, you didn't see a whole lot of 5 stars flip over. So I'm going to definitely give some of that credit to Ohio State because even if you only have,
Yeah, I put them in the
four
fourth
total
spot.
transfers and towards of 5, 4, and 3 stars, 2 5 stars, 1 4, 1 3. That's still very impressive. Gonna give Ole Miss that credit as well, pulling in 7 4 stars and a 5 star. Very impressive. Oregon also bringing in that 5 star and then having the 5 4 stars. And like you said, shout out Florida State, 10 4 star commits
Right.
flipping some over from Alabama. That's huge. And like you said, those players that are getting
6 from
flipped and, and,
Alabama.
and those players that are coming over, they've got that Saban in them.
Oh yeah, they got
They
that grit.
understand that blue blood type of work that comes out of the University of Alabama. They understand the
Mm-hmm.
culture that they've been, held up to. And I agree with you, man. A lot of these teams that are bringing these guys in, they're going to be set up for success because if you don't pivot, you're not going to be successful. What did the NFL just go from? Pocket passers to now you want to have a little bit of dual threat capability.
Oh yeah.
People talking about Nick Saban retiring because, he retired because he's 72. Okay. He was still at the top of his game with one of the
Mm-hmm.
most fair rosters he's ever had, and he
Still
still
could
beat
have
the
won
number
another
one
one.
team in the country. But what is the possible indicator? If he can't pivot, sell these kids based off money and not work ethic and the mission and get active in that transfer portal, that's why I thought Kalen DeBoer was a great hire.
Yeah, he could
Because
be
not
that.
only was he the runner-up in the national championship, but he dealt with a freaking Michael Penix, who was not necessarily that highly touted coming out of Indiana. If you saw Michael Penix before he got to Washington, you knew he was special. It was like watching Patrick Mahomes at Texas Tech or even when Baker walked on at Oklahoma. You felt something special about it, and you knew, outside of Baker, and of course we have to wait to see with Michael Penix, that he was going to be special. Of course, Mahomes has done what he's done, and I believe he's going to win his 3rd Super Bowl this year against the Niners, but that's another show, of course. If you can't pivot in college football, if you can't understand how to make things happen in that transfer portal, you're going to get left behind.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
I think all these teams that are out there, picking up these recruits, it's going to be really good for them. Of course, we got Colorado active, Texas as well. But what are your thoughts on this before we get out of here? Because I saw this before we got on.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia, Alabama, and LSU have the least amount of incoming transfers at this point in the season. Give me your thoughts on that.
Ooh,
Georgia,
I mean,
Alabama, and LSU, all SEC teams, have the least amount of transfers coming into their program right now.
I can't say I'm necessarily surprised with the Alabama. But Georgia and LSU definitely shocked me a little bit because you're usually seeing transfers in and out of there
Right.
quite frequently, more so in than out.
Right.
I mean, just look at the talent that Georgia and LSU's produced in just the last 5 seasons.
Right.
Aside from Heisman winner Jaden Daniels at LSU over there, that does shock me a little bit. Do I think it'll make a big difference in terms of how they're ranking in the SEC and overall? Yes and no. It could play a major role, but I think they've got weapons right now
Right.
actively. Georgia's still retaining quite a few of their players, and LSU alike. The big concern with LSU is the quarterback situation.
Of course. Of course. Yeah, I'm right. I'm right there with you, man. A lot of things we agree on in this show. Alabama, for sure. I can understand. You know, I respect the people that stayed after Nick Saban leaving, but for the guys that left, Saban, as much as I said Saban couldn't pivot and sell, I don't believe he could sell in terms of, oh, yeah, we'll give you the most money. One, we're already been kind of, backlash for that. And there's the assumptions and the rumors. But
Mm.
two, I built this program based off blue blood work ethic.
Oh yeah.
If you can't sit and learn and eat tape for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and in your
Mhm.
sleep, I don't want you to be part of the Crimson Tide.
Oh, absolutely.
When you look at Georgia, I think it's just a little early in the season right now. Georgia's recruiting class is very heavy. There,
Very
you
true.
you can't tell me that Kirby Smart don't know how to play the transfer portal because that's
Oh,
why
yes,
Georgia
he
fans
does.
love him so much, and he understands coming from that Nick Saban tree. I've got to understand how to pivot.
Yeah.
LSU again, I think it's just a little early in the season, but I thought that was interesting.